Latin phrases. Anyone in here trained in Latin? Do you know, anyone know Latin a little bit? Anyone doesn't know Latin and wants to make a stab? All you people who've been around know what this means. What? Pig Latin. Pig Latin. That's. Anyone want to make a guess? What do you think unum necessarium means? It's, you know, we come from the same root. Necessary is the second word, yes.
Only one.
One and only. You're exactly right. So I've been reading this book by what's my guy's name? Dietrich von Hildebrand, called Transformation in Christ. He was a German. He wrote about 100 years ago, and he likes to throw in Latin phrases. It's just this quirky thing he does, and I like it, but I usually have to Google them to figure out what they mean. So he talks about Christ being your unum necessarium, which is your only thing needed. You only need one thing, and that's Christ. I love that.
Maybe we need that on a shirt. Yeah,
we need that on our merch down the sleeve. Yeah. Yes. So, and that's the thing about simple, is that simple really isn't about simple. It's not about the notebook. It's not about any of the structure. It's really about Christ becoming the only thing you need.
And this is just one of the many million possible paths to get to your unum necessarium.
Many, many paths to get there. So, so I don't, you know, it's actually a fear that I have, is that this would become activity-based for people instead of Christ-based, because Christ is the only end that matters. And I have found this tremendously helpful in coming to Christ more and more every day, but that's really the end goal. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what I said in my first 30 seconds of what simple is. Simple really primarily brings together two ancient practices that help you get to know Christ better. One is called the prayer of recollection. You may know we used to call simple prayer of recollection because it's such an important part of the practice. But when you think about recollection, if you're not familiar with prayer of recollection, what does that word mean to you when you think of recollection? Just the meaning of the word.
Remembrance.
Remembrance, yeah. Okay, so that's part of why we stopped calling it prayer of recollection, is because that's not what it means. There's a different meaning.
That's what the word recollection means.
It is what recollection means.
That's not what it used to mean.
It's not what the practice
when this practice was invented.
Yeah. So think of, instead of the way we think of recollection, think of recollection. In other words, collecting again. And the thing that you're collecting again is yourself. So you're bringing yourself out of all of the distractions into the presence of Christ, and you're recollecting there. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then recollection is a form of biblical meditation. There are many, many ways to meditate on the Bible. But author Timothy Keller talks a lot about biblical meditation, and we use a lot of his work. We integrate that in with prayer recollection. So we'll talk a little bit more about both of these. So recollection, this comes from Dietrich von Hildebrand, also from some of his writing. This is how he describes it. I really like this. He talks about pulling back from the whirlpool of activities, distractions and worries, large and small. So think about your life. Do you ever feel like life is just like a spinning whirlpool, like so many things going on? What did you say? Yeah, you feel that, right? It's like, no, you kind of just, and sometimes it feels like you're in it too, like you're part of the spinning. So he's saying that part of recollecting is to pull back out of that whirlpool, to get yourself out of that. And then once you're out and you're kind of in the quiet with Christ, that you then recognize God as your complete cause and goal. I just love that language, that God is your cause. He's the whole reason you're here. He started it all. And he's your goal. He's your complete ending place. And from that kind of orientation towards God, you can say, I stand before Christ. I recognize that my place in this life is that I'm his servant. Like, you know, when Mary learned that she was going to give birth to Christ, she said, I'm your servant. May it be as you say. That's kind of the mindset. And that when you get into that place, that's where you find your truest identity. It's easy to lose your identity out there in the whirlpool, but when you get back and reorient as the servant of Christ, then you find your true identity. And from that perspective, when you look back out at the whirlpool, everything out there starts to bring on its true meaning. Every person, every object, every activity has a meaning that's different when you can see it from this orientation of being with Christ. And von Hildebrand also talks about, you see at the bottom there, staying recollected. So recollection is something you can do when you pull back, reorient towards Christ. But you can also make it your intention to stay in that, even when you're back in the whirlpool, that you're staying with your mind. Keep coming back to Christ. Keep coming back. Keep collecting in him. All right. Now we're going to talk about biblical meditation, the other piece that's drawn into this. So this is not Eastern meditation. You guys may know meditation is very popular right now. There's lots of apps you can get apps on your phone. I have apps on my phone. This is a little different than that, because when you think of Eastern meditation, you think of how you want to clear your mind. You almost go to a state of nothingness. But in biblical meditation, you're filling your mind, and the Bible is leading your mind and your thoughts. So
it's more like focusing.
Yeah, it's more like focusing your mind. Focus is a really good word for it. And someone mentioned, I think it might have been Larry or Sharon, about having kind of a checkbox mentality where you just go to get your Bible study done. I've been there, But that's not what we want in our time with Christ. We don't want to be like, oh, it's done. Thank goodness I'm done. I can go to my real day now. You really want to move to where you're tasting and delighting in the Lord, that it's a delight to be with him. It warms your heart. You want to praise him and give thanks and even experience the conviction and the repentance that makes life meaningful. So we keep bouncing around.
We should update our slides to not have to do this.
So yeah, that's a good idea. What'd you say?
I can't see the screen like somewhere.
What's wrong? Oh, Mike Grimm was in the way. We got you covered, Kevin. We just moved Mike. We're bouncing him around like ping pong. We got a ping pong champ right here. Yeah. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about Psalm 1. Biblical meditation is mentioned a number of times in the Bible. It's obviously something important. God wants us to be meditating on his word. So let's look at this. I think this is really cool. Psalm 1, this is the whole chapter. Oh, let me talk a little bit about the Psalms before we even read this. So the Psalms are like the prayer book of the Bible, right? Like it's so many prayers. Many of them are worshipful. Some of them are like...
I hear you say many of them are worshipful, but not all of them are happy.
Not all happy.
Majority of them are sad.
Actually. Okay. She's been taking a class on Bible.
That is a fun fact for you.
So she's our expert.
I'm not an expert.
And many of them are vindictive. Many of them are kind of slightly horrifying, but they're all prayers. I mean, they're just all prayers, except for Psalm 1. Psalm 1 is not a prayer. It's kind of like whoever arranged the Psalms decided the first thing you need to know before you go into prayer is about meditating on the Bible.
So this one is more like a piece of wisdom.
Yes, a piece of wisdom. So let's look at it. Blessed is the person who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord. So we're talking about the person who loves God and loves the Bible. And on his law, he meditates day and night. Now look at this promise for the person who's meditating. He will be like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and its leaf does not wither, and whatever he does, he prospers. And then the comparison in verse 4 says, the wicked are not so, but they are like chaff, which the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous, for the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. So what do you guys notice when you think about the scripture? What do you notice? What stands out to you about the meditating person meditating on the law of the Lord?
I know for me, the scripture jumped out at me like a while back. And it made me, want to, well, I want to, but it's just really eye-opening. it's like a matter of fact. They're like,
Yeah.
you meditate on this day and night.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like a tree planted, you know, and so streams of water.
Yeah.
You know, solid, and strong, yes, and rooted and doing what it says, which yields its fruit in season. Its leaf does not wither, so we have our due will prosper.
Yeah.
Because I'm rooted
Yeah.
in His word, and you know His words, you know, then just coming alive in me as I'm rooted in His
Yeah.
word. So,
Yeah, I think that's right, Shay. I think you're really tapping into something there because the roots are going into water. So you're not having to wait for rain. It's not what the circumstances bring you. It's the fact that your roots are always in that water of His word, keeping you strong. And then you contrast that. Look at 4. What does it say about the wicked who are not meditating on the law of the Lord? What happened? What are they like? They don't have roots at all. They're like chaff and dust in the wind blowing away. Yeah, it's not, they're not like a little tree. Yeah, they're like the corn husks that just phew. No control. That's a great point. The wind of whatever gust of circumstance is going to come up, and they don't have any control over that. So I really think this is a beautiful scripture. And what you can see in this that's interesting is you can almost think of it as a progression. If you think about simple, the first step being study, and then meditate, and then pray, and then live. I mean, we put them in order, but you can actually think about them in that order. Now, the live part is what happens after you're done with your simple time. That's, you know, the rest of your day. But the study, the meditate, and the pray happen during your simple time.
Well, those also go over into your day.
And they do go into your day. That's exactly right. You're going to pull them into the rest of life. So meditation is not exactly study, and it's not exactly prayer. It kind of hangs in between and ties those two together. And so study, I might say, is answering the question, what does this text mean? Meditation, I might answer the question, what does this text mean to me? And then prayer is we're talking with God about that as we're working through those things. So we're going to talk a little bit about simple in that it is a habit and a skill. It's a discipline that grows over time. So who in here has a discipline, something you've learned that you've practiced a lot over time? Maybe it's music or sports. You can just yell it out. If there's something you know how to do, ping pong. What'd you say? Bowling. What else? Tennis. That's a great example. Piano. Driving is a really good example. Painting. Oh, you're such a good painter. I'm going to turn my sound off.
Sure.
So
I'll leave it on in case my kids or something.
For those of us who still do it, tie our shoes.
Tying our shoes.
Think about it. You have to learn how to tie your shoes.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Yeah, look at Ty. That's funny because your name is Ty, and your shoes don't have any ties.
I hate to tie my shoes.
You don't like to tie. Ty doesn't tie. That's hilarious. So let's talk a little bit about the two components. There's a habit component and there's the skill components.
Well, you haven't asked us about habits and skills in our life. You only asked us about disciplines. Oh, I guess you can break those down into. Okay,
yeah,
you're right.
Right. So your discipline will have a habit and it will have a skill usually, but a habit can be really simple. It can be brushing your teeth. You just have to decide, I'm going to do it every day, and you do it. It doesn't take a lot of skill. You know, maybe it takes 28 days to establish the habit, but it's, you know, not hard. Although my dentist might argue otherwise. There's some skill. But when you look at things like tennis or piano or the things that really take many, many hours to develop a skill, there's that aspect of it too. And biblical meditation is the same way. You will find that the more you do it, the I don't know if better is the right word to say, but it actually does get better over time. And not to say that it's like a straight line going up, 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 but more like it's this, I'm going to do this in front of the camera. It's like this wavy line that goes up over time. What's the word that we use for that?
Undulation.
Undulation. There's a good word for you. Meaning you gets better, but then you might go through kind of a downtime and then it gets better again. And you want to talk about undulation? You have good.
Just that in C.S. Lewis, the Screw Tape Letters,
Mhm.
he talks about the closest thing that humans get to equilibrium is the law of undulation, and that if you will feel like you're going up and down, but you're not. You can have a trajectory up or a trajectory down, but that is like,
Mhm.
that is our equilibrium.
Yeah. And when you're going on the down part, you may feel like you're never going up again. You may just feel like you've fallen off a cliff, but that's not true. The up is going to come. But over time, as you cultivate that skill, you'll notice some things. You'll notice that you can recollect more easily. That sense of being collected with Jesus and taken out of the whirlpool starts to happen. I see people have been doing this for a while, nodding. Starts to happen much more naturally and quickly. At the beginning, distractions are very difficult. You may find yourself distracted almost the whole time. And that's normal and natural. And the process actually brings that in. So you'll find that you can recollect faster. You'll also find that Jesus will warm your heart faster, so that you're not just reading intellectually the text, that you're really sensing his presence with you. So
I think that puts a weird emotional expectation on it.
go ahead and tell us, Anna.
I think that your life was definitely going to get really hard while you're still doing simple, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good perspective, and I thank you.
I'm angsty, okay?
Yeah, we embrace your angst.
That's like 60% of my personality.
We welcome your angst.
That's what you get for, letting the teenager.
Life is really hard.
Yeah, life is angsty.
It's a little harder.
Yeah.
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 I need some grounding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
That structure.
That's the hardest part to establish on your own. And when you said about the skill and
Mhm.
reflecting faster, like
Yeah.
that's what happens when life gets hard. I don't have recollection, I have emotion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and scattering and fragmentation of yourself. Yeah.
Whirlpool.
Yeah. So we're going into Matthew, and Matthew, as with all the Gospels, is just all about Jesus.
Martha, tell us what a gospel is.
A gospel, if anyone here is new to the Gospels, are the accounts of the life of Jesus. So they just talk about the things that he did and the things that he said. So every day, you're going to get a small section from Matthew, and it's either going to be something he taught or something that he did. So you're going to be very, Jesus is going to be your new buddy now. I shouldn't say new. Jesus is going to be a better buddy now. Yeah. And a lot of times we might think about Jesus in terms of being our savior. We know when we die, he's going to save us from death, which is mind-blowing. But he's also our everyday teacher in this life before death. So as you walk with him each day, you can be learning from
Can I
him.
raise my hand for a tidbit I learned in my Bible class?
Please.
In Acts, which is like the sequel to the Gospels, it's everything that happened right after Jesus moves back into heaven. The Holy Spirit is actually called the Spirit of Jesus.
Yeah.
Like he's with you,
Yes.
teaching you right now,
Yes.
and it is not sacrilege to say that.
Yes. Isn't that beautiful? Anyone else need a water while Anna's up? Raise your hand. I'll take orders. One. Did someone else say yes? Just Shay? So there are some trades that still have apprentices, like electricians, I think, do, and plumbing.
Construction, I believe.
I don't know if construction is apprentices or not.
Something like that.
Carpentry.
Yeah.
So tool and die, there's some expertise coming in there. So when you think of it, being an apprentice is a fairly good analogy, although it's less common as it used to be long ago, of the idea of how Jesus is your teacher. Because when you're an apprentice, you're just following the person you're learning from, and you are learning the skills as you watch them and be with them and see how they do it. So one of the things that I think is interesting about that, sometimes people are like, well, I'm not sure if I'm a Christian and I'm not sure if I'm saved. It would be like if you asked an apprentice, are you an apprentice? They would know, or ask someone who's not. They'll know, yes or no. Like I would tell you, no, I know I'm not apprenticing under an electrician or something. It's just that you've made the choice to learn from someone. But if you asked an apprentice, are you a good one? Are you a good electrician's apprentice? They might say yes, and they might say no. But that doesn't make them not an apprentice. You know, you don't have to be good at it to know that that's what your life is about, and that's what you're doing, and that's who you're learning
And the
from.
point of it is that you're not good at it to start. Well, I mean, you're not necessarily a good electrician, but there is still the skill of
Yes.
learning well and
Yes.
attention.
Yes, that it's and
Oh no.
so all right.
Oh yeah.
Now with that background, we're going to look at your simple notebook now. You can grab that out. I have what would you call this? A retro notebook this is one that I assembled before this, and I'm not stopping with it because it's so special to me. But you'll see how I've written on my notebook. I've got a sticker on my notebook. I have more stickers on the inside.
Can I show off your notebook a little bit?
Uh-huh.
So this one we kind of share. Sometimes we've had this one forever. It's got stickers in the front. It's got stickers in the back. It's got stuff to remember in the back and more stickers. And it's got writing on it. And it's got
Lists of things to do.
Lists of things to do. So like
grocery list.
this is yours now. Mess with it. Write on it. Do whatever you want.
And they're kind of intentionally blank so that you can you can put special words on. You can put the stickers I put on aren't just beautiful. They're meaningful. They're from things that mean something special to me.
We'll talk about these later.
So,
If you're curious.
and also you notice my list came flying out.
Sorry.
I try not to use electronics during simple time because it can be distracting. The notifications can be distracting, but I do keep blank paper in there. And I think you guys even have some blank paper. So if I think of something, a certain distraction that's like, oh, I can't forget that. Oh, okay. I've got extra paper. We can bring you guys. If you guys remind me, I have 3 whole paper with us. So
yeah, if you want blank paper at the end of the meeting, tell us and we'll try and connect you with that.
but you can write as you're finding words and verses and things that are meaningful to you. You can, slip out the cover and write it on the page or put it inside. Like, make it yours, make it meaningful.
You got pockets in the front. You got pockets in the back.
Now show us the first page. Okay, well, this is the reading. If you're not using this if you choose not to use this notebook and you're just using a journal, this is the reading plan. And this is all you need with your regular Bible and journal. This will tell you what section we're in every day.
Stuff in the back as well.
Oh yeah, we've got stuff in the back you'll need to. We'll come
get
to that. So, but that's your reading plan. All the stuff is online too. If you lose it, you can always get more. If you have a mom who wants to do it like mine, you can send her the links. Now let's talk about the page that says Matthew Part 1. This is the actual text from the Bible. We do have permission to copy this into here. And what I've done is we've got 2 versions side by side because I like them both for different reasons. One is the New International Version, one is the NASB, which is New American Standard. The NIV is very readable. It's a really nice translation for readability and understandability.
This is like basically like they translate the ideas rather than the actual words.
NIV is actually a little bit in the middle. They do pretty good about, because I don't have NLT this time.
Oh yeah, you're right.
NASB is very close to the original language. When it was written in Greek, the NASB stays very close to the original translation.
So if you're reading that one, you might be like, that grammar is so confusing.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't originally written in English. So you can look at either one and compare. Or if you're like, is that what I think it is? You can compare back and forth because sometimes they'll use 2 different words. And anyway,
yeah,
you know me.
Describe the NIV again.
The NIV is good for readability, very readable. It is also actually, it's one of the best versions about being a blend of accurate and readable. Like New Living Translation is extremely readable, but farther from accuracy. NASB is very accurate, but not as readable. So NIV is really readable, but really pretty accurate
Sometimes
too.
reading NLT, we'll be reading it and they just put sentences in there that were not there.
Huh?
Somebody has seen this.
I hear that noise, but I don't know what that is. Okay.
Will be tested on the genealogy.
You were supposed to have that memorized before you got here, Kevin. It's brutal, isn't it? Okay, so we talked about using your own Bible and journal if you prefer. Any other questions on the text, how it's laid out? The journaling space, did we talk about that? There's, what'd you say? This is, it's actually
this
larger than it
section-
looks.
This section spills across. This
Yeah.
first section spills across 3 pages. So this and this is all one section
Yep.
for one day.
And the lines at the bottom show the end of the section. Normally our sections are actually only about, on average, I'd say 6 verses. So to have a section of 17 verses is ridiculously long, but what was I gonna do? Split the genealogy in the middle? That would just wouldn't make any sense. So sometimes we have longer sections when the whole, you need to keep the thought together. Yeah, Kevin.
How did you meditate on the genealogy?
Well, that's a great question, which we're actually about to do. So that's our very next thing, is a guided meditation on the genealogy. So being that Matthew starts with a genealogy, I thought that wouldn't really be fair of me to make you meditate on your own on the genealogy when you've never even tried it before. So what I did was I recorded a...
Meditating on a genealogy is hard for anybody.
Yeah, it is. So I recorded a guided meditation, which we're going to walk through together. And it's kind of going to give you an example of how even with something as dry as a genealogy, you can actually meditate and meet Jesus in that. And after we do the guided meditation, then I'll walk you through the instructions and you'll be able to kind of see the mechanics of how, when we were in the guided, how we did this piece and then we did this piece, and then it'll give you a feel for that. So that leads us right into the guided meditation. We will have guided meditations probably about once a week or so on average. So you can use those in addition to your regular meditation practice. A guided meditation will have, I'll put places in there where I'll ask you to pause, and that's where you can do your own meditating on the section. You can wait spend as long as you want before you hit play again, praying, journaling, thinking about the prompts. So on your own, you go at your own speed, and it's very customized to what the Spirit is doing in your thoughts and your heart. When we're in a group doing a guided meditation, it's a little more difficult because we would all choose to spend different amounts of time on different questions and thoughts, but I'm going to keep us going. So we'll probably spend shorter on the pauses today than you would in your own practice. In your own practice, you would just spend as long as you want on each one. Then next week when we meet, we're going to do basically the same thing, but instead of having a guided recording, we're going to do a group meditation practice together. And you'll probably be doing some of that in your little subgroup.
Welcome to a guided meditation from Matthew 1 through 17, based on the simple practice. I invite you to close your eyes and breathe deeply. Allow your body to relax. Quiet your mind. Minimize all noise and external disruptions. As mental distractions come, acknowledge each thought. For example, you might think, I am worried about, or stressed by, or distracted by, whatever it may be. Then release it to God. You might say or think, I release this to you, God, or I trust you with this, Jesus. If you're not sure if you can trust Jesus, you might say, help me trust you with this, Jesus. Pause now to acknowledge your distractions as they arise. You can write them in your journaling space if that's helpful for you, and rejoin when you're ready. Having gotten comfortably settled and acknowledging the first wave of distractions, we're ready to start the practice. Bring your awareness to the Spirit of Jesus who is within you. Try to picture him there. Look into his eyes with love and see him looking into your eyes with love. Distracting thoughts are a natural part of this process. Each time they arise, continue acknowledging them, releasing them, and turning your thoughts back to Jesus within you. If you're new to this practice, you may find that your mind spends more time on distractions than meditation on the scripture, which is completely normal. Keep bringing your mind back to Jesus and the scripture. And now we turn to our verses, starting with Matthew 1:1. This is the genealogy of Jesus the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac. Isaac was the father of Jacob. Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers. Judah the father of Perez and Zerah, whose mother was Tamar. Perez the father of Hezron. Hezron the father of Ram. Ram the father of Aminadab. Aminadab the father of Nahshon. Nahshon the father of Salmon. Salmon the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Boaz was the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of King David. David was the father of Solomon, whose mother had been Uriah's wife. Solomon the father of Rehoboam, Rehoboam the father of Abijah, Abijah the father of Asa, Asa the father of Jehoshaphat, Jehoshaphat the father of Jehoram, Jehoram the father of Uzziah, Uzziah the father of Jotham, Jotham the father of Ahaz, Ahaz the father of Hezekiah, Hezekiah the father of Manasseh, Manasseh the father of Amon, Amon the father of Josiah, and Josiah the father of Jeconiah and his brothers at the time of the exile to Babylon. After the exile to Babylon, Jeconiah was the father of Shealtiel, Shealtiel the father of Zerubbabel, Zerubbabel the father of Abihud, Abihud the father of Eliakim, Eliakim the father of Azor, Azor the father of Zadok, Zadok the father of Achim, Achim the father of Elihud, Elihud the father of Eleazar, Eleazar the father of Matthan, Matthan the father of Jacob, and Jacob the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary. And Mary was the mother of Jesus, who's called the Messiah. Thus, there were 14 generations in all, from Abraham to David, 14 from David to the exile to Babylon, and 14 from the exile to the Messiah. Lord Jesus, you are within me. You have existed since before anyone on this genealogy. I let your presence settle on me, around me, in me. I imagine you, vibrant source of energy from the beginning of time, flowing through all these people named here through their sometimes beautiful, often messy lives, flowing through time into the body of Mary, and flowing past Mary through hundreds and thousands of years into my body. You are within me now. Today in our guided meditation, we're going to use a practice called TACS, which stands for teaching, adoration, confession, and supplication. This section of Matthew is an unusual one because it's just a genealogy, which might not feel very meaningful to us at first, but let's dig in. Spirit of Jesus, we know you are within us and around us. We invite you to guide our minds. We start with the teachings of TACS. When you're looking at teachings, we look for what the text might tell us about Jesus or God or the Spirit, meaning who they are or what they do. We can also look for what the text teaches us about humanity or ourselves, who we are or who we should be. Pause now and journal any teachings that you think you might see in this text about who God or Jesus is and who humanity is or who we should be. You can even address your journaling to Jesus if you find that helpful. You might write something like, Jesus, I think you may be showing me whatever the teaching is. Pause now to journal any teachings you notice and rejoin when you're ready. As I look at this genealogy, I find it interesting that in a male-dominated culture, Matthew calls out a few women by name. I'm guessing he wanted to tell us something. Each of them has an interesting story, and they are pretty messy. Let's focus on one of the four for our time today. The woman who stands beside the crown jewel of the lineage, King David. It seems again that Matthew is making a point here. She's the only unnamed person in the genealogy. Why would Matthew not name her in a sea of names? So many names that they make our heads swim. And I know that this was a really ugly story. King David got this woman pregnant while her husband was away at war. And then, for fear of being caught as the father, he betrayed his friend Uriah, her husband, and had him deserted and killed in battle. I wonder if Matthew did not name her because he wanted to emphasize the fact that King David's relationship with her was adulterous, so he referenced her husband. And his relationship with her husband, which is whom she's identified by, was a murderous relationship. This is sobering. We see all this mess is at the core and foundation of the path that leads to Jesus. And this is not the only story with mess-ups in the lives mentioned in this genealogy. Jesus came to us over generations on a path of stained, ruined humanity. Before he ever tells us of the arrival of Jesus, Matthew charts the path of preparation not just through regal nobility, but through sin and pain. In fact, the most regal, noble, celebrated king stands beside his pregnant mistress, or perhaps I should say victim, with a bloodstained conscience of his own murderous actions. As I study this, I feel that Matthew is whispering, or maybe even shouting, to tell me about the ancient sins and problems. Why might Matthew have laid the foundations of this book about the arrival of the eternal power of the universe on such darkened ground? What might he be trying to teach us? He has a story he's about to tell in this gospel, and the first thing he wants me to know is this. I think he wants me to hold this history, this reality about humankind in my mind throughout this book. And so, in honor of the Holy Spirit working through Matthew, I see and soak in this teaching about humanity. Lord, I believe that you are teaching me that humanity is a mess. Having looked at this teaching and any others that you've identified, we now move to adorations. In adorations, we look for what we see to praise, thank, and adore Him for. Pause now and journal any adorations that come to you with regard to this text and what it is teaching. Rejoin when you're ready. Jesus, I praise you that you are bigger than our messes. You did not just come to us because of our messes. You came to us through our messes. What a mystery. Humanity was helpless and ruined. And through that, you brought us rescue. Thank you. And now we turn our attention in text to the C, confession. God, when I quiet myself and am honest, I become aware of the messes in my own life. I pause now to confess the messes I'm making, the places where I'm turning my back on you. Take this moment to pray about and or journal the sins in your own life that come to your mind, the messes you may be making. Rejoin when you're ready. And now, having finished that, I encourage you to go more specific. Think of the last 24 hours and look for thoughts or choices you made that were not in submission to Christ. Holy Spirit, we invite you to soften our hearts and guide our thoughts. Please hold our hand so that we will know that we're not alone in this. Go ahead and pause as you look back on the specifics of the last 24 hours. Jesus, we ask forgiveness for our sins. Lord, deliver us from the evil one. fill our hearts, and give us guidance and strength to respond differently. Jesus, we need your help. We know that you do forgive us. We receive your forgiveness. We know that you called King David a man after your heart because of his repentance. Finally, we turn our attention toward the S of tax, which is supplication, or asking for something, from the root word supply. Having finished our confessions, what would you like to ask God for now related to this? Pause as you journal and rejoin when you're ready. Jesus, I ask that as we journey through Matthew, that you will change us, not just change our actions, but truly change our hearts, which are the source of all our actions. We thank you now for the work you're going to do in the future in response to this prayer today. As I soak in his forgiveness and the freedom that brings, one thing I appreciate today is God's faithfulness. God had a plan and faithfulness that superseded human mistakes. God, thank you for your plan and faithfulness that reach back to the dawn of time and hold together through all our falterings. Let's take a moment to look at the implications of this. If God's faithfulness is really true, valid, and reliable, what are the implications? Pause now and journal what comes to mind as the implications of his faithfulness, and rejoin when you're ready. Here are some that I thought of. I can trust him. I can stop worrying or controlling as if anything that really matters rests on me. My messes won't stop his good work. God's rescue does not rely on me being good. God has been faithful to his people and will be faithful to me no matter what I have done or will do. As we close, this is what I would encourage. Tonight, when you lie down to sleep, or any time during the day even, as thoughts come to your mind, perhaps troubling thoughts, encourage yourself to think of God's faithfulness. You can even think of it as a blanket spreading over you, thinking of how it's holding you together, drawing you to him. We praise you, Jesus.
All right, we'll come back to group here. I just want to kind of check in and get reactions, first of all.
That was so poetic, Martha. Who knew there was so much sadness in the genealogy?
Yeah, the genealogy.
Why are you giving me this?
Put us back into the overheads.
Sure.
This one of those books that I just lost of.
I know.
Maybe because you can't pronounce half the names.
You can't pronounce them, I know. It's like,
Especially you pronounce it and the other reason.
Yeah, where'd you
Yeah.
learn all those
But
pronunciations?
then, not being able to pronounce them and then realizing that all this, through all the mess that happened before Jesus got there,
Mhm.
made you think about your life.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow. Jesus came through all this.
Yeah.
And he still sits on the throne of grace. There's hope for me.
There's hope. Yeah. He's not surprised by the messes.
Right. There's hope. And he's not surprised by what you're going through.
That's right.
And when you think, I'm not good enough to
Yeah.
be used by him, you open up your eyes to it. No
Mhm.
matter where you came from,
Yes. That's right.
You'll still use you.
That's right.
So,
That's right. It's so hopeful. Any reactions to the, were you going to say something, Shay?
You tell me what is text again. I had a little hard time picking up. We were just doing one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's turn to answer your question. Pull out your blue sheet. Taxes on here. Yes.
Do we want to show them how to find the front?
Yeah. Show them how to find the front.
Okay, it's kind of hard to tell, but the back has this little reminder at the bottom and the front is blank on the bottom.
So prepare should be your first
Prepare should be your-
box. Yep. Yep. Okay. So everything that we did in that guided meditation is you can find in your instruction sheet. I'm not going to read every word on this because you guys can, but I'm going to kind of give you an overview of the mechanics of that. Shay, this
Also,
will
they have
answer
the
your
5-day countdown to go through.
question. Yeah, we'll do that part next. Next, we're going to talk about a 5-day countdown option. So I've been kind of thinking about this process as like, if you want food, if you want to make yourself a meal, how this might be like your pantry or your refrigerator. So the first thing you're going to do, I've got mine backwards, sorry. The first thing you're going to do on, as you open it, you're going to go to prepare. So in other words, it's like opening your pantry. If you're going to make food, you have to open the door of the pantry. So preparing is where you're getting yourself, it's like the recollecting that we talked about, getting yourself in a quiet place, you're relaxing your body, you're bringing your awareness to Jesus inside of you, you're acknowledging all those distractions that start coming up the minute that you get quiet. So, so that's prepare. We did that at the beginning. Next is study. Study is going to be maybe like looking around the pantry, like what's in here? I just have to see what else in here, you know? We actually did a lot of this guided meditation was based on the step of study because look at underneath the small dash where it says, what does this mean? What does this text mean? What would he have? Why would he have said this? What if he hadn't said this? So when we started looking at, oh, look, there's women in the genealogy. Why would he even mention women? Oh, this is weird. He didn't even say Bathsheba's name. He just said that she was the wife of Uriah. So there you're starting to look at the text like, why did the author say this? What if the author hadn't said this? What did he mean? If it were not a genealogy, you could say, paraphrase would be a good way to do study, just so you understand what you think the author was originally saying. So what did it mean? Once you feel kind of stable, like you got a sense of what the text is saying, now you're ready to move into the meditative part where you're actually thinking about what does it mean to me? So there's two parts to that. One is going to be your left box that's your left box that says, no, that's your right box, says imagine, and your left box says thought. So imagine is, we did a little bit of the imagine when we were imagining bringing our attention to Jesus inside of us, imagining looking at him. Those are imaginative. But you'll find now we're looking at ingredients in the pantry, right? You'll find the imaginative ingredients where you actually imagine you're in the story or you imagine what this would be like in your life are really helpful in narratives where they're telling a story about Jesus, he's healing someone, or he's, calling out the Pharisees. I try to always do a little bit of the imagine part at the beginning And then I usually move into meditation thought, and we'll talk about these specifics. But thought is your more analytical. Now you're guiding your mind to where you think he wants to show you why this is meaningful for you. So you'll see right there, the first set of prompts is tax. So Shay, that has all of the questions verbatim that we just did for teaching, adoration, confession, supplication. If you skip down a set, you'll see implications. We sprinkled a little bit of implications in there at the end, so you can kind of mix and match. I think tax is a great way to start. Like when you're first learning the meditative process, tax is like bread and butter of biblical meditation. It just can bring you with the adorations and the confessions and supplications. It's very helpful. But just to let you know, in future meetings, we will be practicing all of these different practices. We'll be trying them together in different ways, different guided meditations we'll hit into them. So you can, you know, as you're starting on your own, you might want to, well, we have a 5-day countdown. We'll come back to that.
And don't, feel the need to
That
get
keeps covering.
through everything.
Right.
Don't try to get through everything.
Yeah, don't even try.
Just pick one thing. Like you can do the same thing. Pick just one of these things, one of these questions off any of these things, and think about it every day forever. And you're still doing great.
Yeah.
Really, your only goal is to sit down for 30 minutes and open the Bible and take out the blue sheet, and at least to try. And she's analytical and I'm artsy. My favorite is self in the story. So, you know, find your thing. You'll have a thing. Try stuff.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the artsy thing. Artists can see what they want to paint on a blank canvas. And I move by people who can just walk up and draw something.
Yeah.
That's not me. But when I see something, paints or does something like that. And you did this just, and you have all these details now. I move by people who can see all the detail before it even owns.
Before it even exists. That's right.
And that's a great point, Anna. Thank you for sharing that.
That is good. Because you wouldn't open your pantry and make something with everything in your pantry. Like, I mean, maybe if your pantry was very barren, but yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, we're probably gonna look at brand,
Yeah.
you know, based on
What's comfort. Yeah. That's right. So if you flip to the back, there's a little bit on pray. We're not going to read this extensively, but basically the point is that as you're journaling and thinking, you're also praying. These thoughts, you're bringing the study and the meditation into prayer. And that prayer then stays with you throughout the day as you keep that conversation going and keep that fire alive with Jesus. That may be, I think prayer may be like the making or the baking of the meal. Like, what would you do if you had all these ingredients and you didn't make the meal? That would be like if you meditated and looked at the Bible, but never, you know, had a conversation with God about it. And then the last category is live. And these are just some suggestions and ideas for how you can bring your daily meditations into your day as you're going in your regular everyday work and play life. So, and I think that's like eating. Now you've made the meal and you actually get to enjoy it during the day, and it can change your life. So then let's talk about the 5-day countdown.
Yes.
So we want to give you an option.
Also in the back of your binders, you'll have
You can
this.
pull that out. The 5-day
that
countdown
piece of paper right here.
is a way, if you're new to the practice, that you can step into it a little bit more like a zero depth entry into a pool where you're just going one step at a time, going in. So this has a little more detail than the instruction sheet, and it takes you every day. It gives you a suggestion for how you can do it this week. And this week we only have 5 days instead of 6. Normally we go 6 days and have Sundays off, or you can take a different day off if you have a busy day. Were you gonna say something?
I was going to say that Sunday can be like your recap day.
Yeah, Sunday's a great day to review.
To it.
So if you open it up and you look at day 1, for example,
So you can clip this into your binder.
yeah, that can go right in your binder. So on the first day, you're going to get to try traditional prayer of recollection, which is less analytical and more of the having the conversation with Jesus inside of you. But it'll give you step-by-step instructions on that. And then on day 2, is imagining yourself in the story, which is what Anna says is the one she likes to do. So you're going to really focus on that. Day 3 is understanding the text. And then day 4, I'm going to make a guided meditation that will do tax again, like we did today. And I'll send you guys a link by email for that. There's also a QR code to find the playlist there. You can find it off of. And then on day 5, you can do tax again, like we did today, but on your own. But if you're ready and you want to jump in with tax on day 1, just like go for it. You know,
you don't have to follow your countdown.
Yeah, you don't have to follow the
it's
countdown.
Really nice, and it eases you into it. So if you're like, this seems like a lot, that's okay. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. I like doing the countdown. I think it's sometimes, you know, structure can actually release more creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are like, you're not looking at the whole blue sheet, you're like, I'm going to do just this today. It gives you a place to focus. And within that, you can kind of, you know, have a place to go. I'm going to talk a little bit about a gym for the day. This is a practice that some of us have been experimenting with. Pastor Todd has done this, and he's kind of part of our inspiration. As you're doing your meditation, when you're getting to the end,
really on your blue sheet, so.
No, it's not. We don't have it on the blue sheet.
But it's sort of part of live.
Mm-hmm. You might find a word or a phrase or a verse that stands out to you, something that really captures it. So like from today's meditation, it might be, I don't know, does anyone have something that stood out from that guided that would be like, that would help me remember everything that we talked about?
Like Uriah's wife?
Uriah's wife.
Okay.
Okay.
When you read that, you do think about Uriah's wife, and you like, and all of a sudden it pops in your head. Oh,
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the woman he cheated with.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're in some little mini novel.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Wow. Okay, that's. But they didn't say, like when they brought up the fact that they didn't mention her name.
Yeah. Right.
As opposed to the other woman's name. Now you go back to the other woman's names and you focus on them also.
Yeah. They've all got to say, they all
Story.
stories. They do. It's right. I was thinking maybe the word faithfulness might be one that would.
Mine wasn't good enough for you.
No, wait, we have different ones. That's why we all have a different thing, you know?
Mine was God is revealing himself to us,
Yeah.
right? All begin.
God is revealing himself from the beginning. That's right. Shay, did you have something? Father.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Every generation, Father. Father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Isn't it interesting how we all have something different captured us, and it's just, you know, the Spirit has a very individual relationship with each of us.
Yeah.
And you might find it helpful to write that down on a Post-it or a note card. I'm a little weird. I actually sometimes will take an eyeliner and write it on my wrist. And because, you know, there are days where I'll be like, I don't even remember what I meditated about this morning. And then I'll look and I'll be like, oh, yeah. And then that one word will bring it all back into that moment. So that can be really helpful to bring it into the live part.
And it doesn't have to be an eloquent word.
No, not
It
at
can
all.
be something silly or something, well, anything that helps you remember.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the community support part of this. We meet every other Sunday, except here at the beginning. We're going to meet next Sunday and the following, and then we'll have, then we'll go to our every other week. What we're looking at doing is starting a WhatsApp. Has anyone in here used WhatsApp on your phone, or especially if you have international relatives? I know. It's just like a way you can chat, like texting with people, or you can call, but we'll be doing the chat version. Our friend Mari, who lives in Finland, really enjoys having a connection every day with anyone who wants to in a small group of, we just do like a chat group. Right now we're using Google Chat, but I think she said WhatsApp might be really good for that. So you can put your gym, you can say what was meaningful to you, you can say nothing at all. Some people don't, and you don't have to join the chat group. I'll send out an email and find out who wants to, and we'll get that set up in the near future. But it's a really nice way to connect daily. And sometimes people even put in prayer requests. And so it's just, some people really appreciate the daily connection.
Can I say something?
Yes, Nora.
I love that chat group. Sometimes afterwards, like, I'm so busy and I come home and when I go to bed and I look at the chat.
Yeah.
And sometimes I even like, oh my God, I forgot to read my Bible. And I just, it gives me that and go back and spend that time. And also like the discussions that we have.
Good discussions.
We have like, I will ask questions more. And then, somebody will respond, or Martha will respond, okay, what do you think about this? Or, and it gives me different perspective, so that's, it's really a good way for busy people.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're busy, that's a nice point of connection every day. Yeah. And our friend Mari, who's the most faithful about chatting every day, is one of the deepest, most richest, authentic people I know. So you'll be blessed by her. She's amazing.
How did you get connected?
Helena, she's friends with Helena.
Well, she used to live here.
And she used to live here, moved to Finland after, but I've never met her in person. So yeah, only virtual. Yeah, it's very cool. Okay, one-on-one meetings. So what I'll be doing soon is putting out a sign-up sheet every couple weeks or so. I'll schedule a day where I just put out 15-minute increments, and you and I can talk on the phone, and you can just tell me what's working, what's not working, I'm stuck, or this was amazing, or what did you think about that, or I didn't understand what that text meant. I won't necessarily have answers about the text, but we can talk about stuff. But it's just an opportunity for us to connect. It helps me know what's working with people and what's not. But I can, if I have a suggestion, I can throw it out there for you. If you think I'm stuck and it hasn't been going well, so I'm not going to talk to Martha on the phone, don't do that. That's the best time to talk, because then we can pray together. I can encourage you. I can give you ideas if I find out where you're getting stuck, but that is really the best conversation, is the one where you're stuck or it's not going well or whatever.
And if you're stuck and it's not going well, don't stop coming to meetings.
Yes.
Because I've been stuck and it's not been going well forever. And
Yeah.
I'm still here, and I love you guys. Come on, don't leave us.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Might not be working for you.
We're working on it, though. We're trying to get through it.
Yeah.
And if for the first time, you will get, I got stuck.
And
it's
very
was
normal.
Like, it's first 2 weeks, and I'm missing, and how do I catch up? And then when she called me, she was like, no, it's okay, and then I like, okay, and then I took Sundays to catch up. Sometimes when I miss it, then I go back and read it on Sundays. So that's really great. So that's very helpful when talking to having one-on-one. And it helped when she encourages, a lot of good things.
Yeah, it's really
I think
good.
it's a good reminder that he doesn't want your perfection.
That's right.
Yeah.
He just your true self.
Yeah.
Coming to him, and if you're struggling, then prayer is a good way to just work through it.
And on the note of getting stuck, if you get behind, you don't even have to feel like you have to catch up. Your goal is to meet with Jesus today. So you can jump in on today's text. I mean, if you want to catch up on Sunday and you've got time, that's great. But a lot of times, if there's something that's been keeping you from doing it, like life is busy and crazy, the thought that you have to catch up on those texts makes it harder to get back in. So if you can just say, I'm just going to meet with Jesus on the same text everyone else is on today, maybe I'll catch up if the Spirit leads me there this weekend, but I'm not going to let that get in the way. So a note about commentaries. Do people like using commentaries in here? What are your thoughts? Do you like them? Yes, or indifferent? A little yes. One of the things I think with commentaries and simple study Bibles, same thing, where you have the little commentary underneath the text, is especially commentaries where you can get very in depth.
Mike likes commentaries.
Of course you do. He's like a Bible seminary graduate. That's why he's being a missionary in Mexico. Thank you, Mike. I think it's often helpful to not use them right in the middle of your simple practice. So either check them out before or read them afterwards. Sometimes I put the commentary in the bathroom. Like, so when I'm using the restroom later, I'll be like quick, like, oh, what did the commentary say about that verse? I wasn't sure. But the reason that it can be disruptive during is that it can take you out of that place where you're kind of meditatively trying to understand what the scripture means to me, and you're staying a little bit more in the academic book side of it, which is not a bad thing. It's just you lose the purpose of connecting with Jesus in your own internal spirit. So let's see. It's
That being said,
3:25. Yes.
if you like them, please use them. Do use them outside your simple time. They are very useful.
Mhm.
If a section is bothering you,
Yes.
don't let it torture you. You can read the commentaries, but also, form your own opinion and think
Mhm.
about it.
Yep.
And also, if a section is bothering you, talk to Martha on your one-on-one, and she'll be so nice to you.
We can talk together about it. We've talked about most of the things on this slide, but the one that I most want to hit on is the last bullet about cultivating a mentality of readiness when he prompts you. Someone said this when we were talking, when we were checking in, someone said how important it is when you're reading the Bible to just try to do what he says. Was that one of you guys? I don't remember who said that.
Fire hosing me right now. I'm barely able to cultivate a mentality of begrudgingness.
That's fair. But you can have a vision for,
I guess.
a vision for the future. And it's back to that idea of him being your teacher. The whole idea is that he's going to talk to us and we're going to listen and we're going to say, help me, Jesus. I want to do what you're calling me to do here. Mm-hmm. But if you feel like he's calling you to do something from the scripture, and I do believe he will, that's the most important thing you have for that day in your life, is whatever it is you think he's calling you to do, more important than anything else that you've put on your to-do list. Okay, next steps. We talked about we're normally 6 days. This week, since we're starting out, we just have 5. That'll start on Monday. You can find the starter kit, which is, you already have everything from there in your lap, but if you need it, again, it's on coloredcarnations.com website, and that is printed on the side of your blue sheet.
So this, if you don't know how to spell it, or if you forget what it's called.
Yes. Next week, we'll be breaking into smaller table groups, and then, whoops. Oh, can I do my Shannon Swift thing? I'd have to plug this into that.
I don't know.
The adapters in my
So amazing.
Amazing. Amazing. Do you get her emails? Amazing. If you want to grab the adapter.
We'll be able to get the sound of it, but not the video.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Okay.
No, we won't be able to get the sound because this doesn't plug into the sound program.
I have the adapter in my front pocket of my backpack, which is behind me. Okay. We may pull that out while you guys are thinking about this, because as we're closing, I want to give you a moment to think about planning.
Only one?
Well, it's not 8, it's 9. It's 3:28. So you can have one moment. 1 minute. You can even jot things down, but it's really important, as with anything in life.
While you drive home.
If something's important to you, you need to have a plan to do it. So
that's not true. I'm a procrastinator, Martha.
Right.
And I have to commit when I work out. And if I don't show up, they charge me.
There you go.
That's what we need. Martha's gonna charge you.
Or 8 hours. I don't do it in 8 hours.
Yeah, you don't want to lose money. Right.
That's really smart.
So if you don't do your simple time, you're going to pay me. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I had. That's what I heard.
I think that's what she was saying. Hugs and kisses. So, yeah, so it's really good to think about. Many people like mornings. Mornings are great because you kind of set the tone for the day. There's also, even if you do it in the morning, revisiting at night before you go to sleep can be very powerful, because you know how sometimes at night, sometimes your mind spins and goes and stuff. You have something grounding that you can bring it back to. Yeah, that's right. Let it go down in deep. So, okay, do you wanna try to play that or no?
Why are you in the middle of talking?
Oh yes. So your busiest days are probably gonna be the hardest days for many people. So, and that's one of the things that Shannon talks about. I have like a 30-second video from Shannon, is looking at your busiest days and saying, okay, I'm not going to back down. God, I'm going to invite you in. Let's find a way to make this happen, even on the days that are insanely busy. And you can get very creative. I've done simple time in the bath. I've done it in the car. Please don't tell anyone because that's probably not safe. I've done it in the bathroom, I'm sure. So, you know, you can get very
You can do it
creative.
on your lunch break.
Lunch breaks.
You can do it
We've had teachers who do it in their planning periods.
when you wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh, my work, my stress.
Yeah.
You can do your simple. Or you can come back to it.
Yeah. And you might, the third bullet is you might want to think about things that you need to set aside or push back or delay or minimize to make space for simple time. We've had people who changed like their social media habits.
If you're like me and you love scrolling Instagram.
Yeah. You know, to accommodate for something that was more important to them, their simple time.
Oh, but you want to talk about vacation simple?
No, not today. Let's save that.
We'll not talk about that. Oh, it's gonna make a noise.
That wasn't too bad.
Hang on, it's gonna make another noise.
So we won't be able to see it. You can hold up the phone.
Okay.
It's in my camera. We'll go back one or two.
Okay. Here it is.
Hi, friend. I hope that everybody is just excited about diving into simple. And one encouragement and challenge I wanted to give to everyone is that even on your busiest day, when you think there's no way that I have time for 30 minutes, I just challenge you to plan out 30 minutes and ask God to figure out the rest of your day, the rest of whatever you have in your schedule. And then at the end of the day, look back and see how God has worked. I almost 100% guarantee you that you are going to be so pleasantly surprised.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.